Have you ever felt confused and overwhelmed while in a relationship with somebody of a different attachment style? Well, if that sounds like you, and in particular, if your attachment style was a fearful avoidant dating an anxious preoccupied, or an AP dating an FA, in today's video, we are going to do a deep dive into these two attachment styles. And in specifics, we will talk about what the anxious preoccupied person needs from their fearful avoidant partner. Now, if you're not familiar with attachment styles and attachment theory, essentially, attachment theory is this idea that we each have a unique attachment style, aka love style, in relationships. Our attachment style affects us not just in our romantic relationships, although it will affect us in particular in those relationships, more so than in other relationships. And our attachment style as a whole is essentially the subconscious set of rules you have to learn about love, to learn about dating and what that looks like. Some individuals tend to be really anxious and afraid of abandonment in dating. Other people tend to be very afraid of commitment and a little bit more avoidant. Then we have our fearful avoidant attachment style, who tends to sort of fluctuate both ways. They can be very hot and cold. And then our securely attached style tends to be the most stable and consistent overall. So today we're going to be talking about the anxious style and the fearful avoidance style. So the anxious style and the hot and cold style. Those are the four total attachment styles that exist. And so two of those four we'll be discussing. And we will be talking about in this attachment style or relationship pairing, what the anxious preoccupied is really needing and seeking from their fearful avoidant partner. So first and foremost, anxious preoccupied individuals in their romantic relationships, they really need to be reassured. They really need, especially when they see inconsistency or a fluctuation, which we know fearful avoidant attachment styles have that inconsistency because they tend to sort of be warm some days and sort of cold and more avoidant other days, depending on what they're feeling, what core wounds are coming up for them. And so we know that the anxious preoccupied is going to need a little bit of reassurance, especially around this idea that the fearful avoidant, just because they're pulling away, it doesn't mean that they're leaving. And I think it's a really important thing for any anxious person to note, which is that just because somebody does pull away or their pattern changes, it actually doesn't mean that you're going to be abandoned. People pull away for many different reasons, and there are natural ebbs and flows in our relationship dynamics. In other words, you may have a partner who, is withdrawing because they recharge from their time alone. And to the anxious preoccupied person who generally doesn't want this absence of connection, they have a hard time understanding that somebody could be pulling away for reasons other than abandonment. And so it's really important, if that's a concern for you as an AP, that you're communicating that to your fearful avoidant partner and you're letting them know. And one of the best things that you can do when you're communicating it is communicate with vulnerability. Fearful avoidant attachment styles, the hot and cold style in relationships, they respond so well to vulnerability and transparency. So if you say things like, hey, you're never spending enough time with me, versus you instead say something like, hey, I'm feeling nervous because I feel you pulling back a little bit. Are we all good? If you say something like that, that's going to make a big positive impact. That's going to help the fearful avoidant not personalize what you're saying to them about you never spend enough time with me. They won't take that as criticism or expectation, which we know fearful avoidance can be quite sensitive to expectations of others at times because it mirrors back to them the tremendous and very intense expectations they put on themselves in their own relationships. And so the anxious preoccupied person, when they are able to articulate vulnerably that they're needing reassurance, they've noticed a bit of a shift in the pattern. Is everything okay? This is how you're going to much more effectively get that reassurance that you're looking for. So really, really important to pay attention to. The other things that are really valuable when, in a relationship with a fearful avoidant is anxious preoccupieds really need to have their feelings validated. They need to feel seen and heard. Now, sometimes what we'll see in this relationship is that anxious preoccupieds will keep bringing things up because they don't feel resolved yet. If you ever see somebody you're in a relationship with, because this happens with fearful avoidance as well, if somebody's ever bringing things up from the past, rather than getting frustrated about it and saying, oh, you always bring up the past, try to recognize what's going on behind that, right? What the sponsoring intention is. And what you'll see is that the sponsoring intention for people bringing things up from the past is actually that they don't feel resolved yet. And usually what brings somebody to a resolution in full is for their loved one to be able to go to them and say, you know what? I can see in the situation that you felt hurt or frustrated. And here's what I'm going to do to try to prevent this from happening again. So, if you feel like your feelings are validated, and if you feel like your partner has a strategic idea or a strategy, in other words, to try to prevent the recurrence of the behavior that hurt you, this is when people actually feel resolved. And this is when people are able to set things fully to rest. So if you're seeing, you as the AP dating an FA, you're seeing yourself bring things up, ask for validation around your feelings. If you notice that you're bringing up old patterns or old issues, say, hey, I don't feel resolved because I'm looking for you to just tell me you can see where I'm coming from, you know why I'm hurt, and that you'll be more mindful about this in the future. That's all I'm needing to feel fully resolved. So this is another really important thing that APs are often seeking from their partners. And also, I just wanted to let you know, we have a 14-day free trial happening for Black Friday right now. So if you want to come in, join the school, come and join the webinars, we literally have daily webinars and we have daily peer support groups. So there's so much support in there, along with access to all of the different courses for attachment styles. We have the Fearful, Avoidant, Anxious, Preoccupied relationship reconnection course that you can check out for free for that whole 14 days, along with all of the daily events that we have going on. So use the 14-day free trial. I'll put the link down below if you're interested, and I'd be really excited to see you on the other side. And also, I'm really excited to share with you that we've actually been working on an app for quite some time, and we're going to be launching that as well. So if you want to come in, check out our new app that we have to take all of your PDS courses from and all the new exciting features and benefits in there, check it out. That will also be included when you click the link down below. APs as well, from their Fearful Avoidant, they really want to feel wanted and valued. And I think it's really important to note here that in the beginning, when fearful avoidance and APs are first dating, it's like fireworks. Like, we'll often see that the fearful avoidant makes their AP partner feel extremely wanted, extremely valued, very prioritized. And it's not really until there's an attachment built where the fearful avoidant starts to feel their own vulnerability in the relationship that you may see the shift in the pattern. So you may see the fearful avoidant start to pull away. And part of why they pull away in that case is literally because they start to fear their own vulnerability to somebody. And so now they pull away as a form of self-protection, because we know fearful avoidance self-protect when they have this avoidant side to them. And when they are coming at this sort of unique perspective of feeling afraid or overwhelmed, this is where the anxious preoccupied will now start feeling not as wanted or not as valued, and maybe more hurt by that situation. And so remember, you telling your partner this is important to you can be very, very valuable and can go a very long way. And last but not least, anxious preoccupieds, they really want certainty in their relationships, certainty, and that sometimes comes in the form of validation. So if you can also make sure that when you're communicating to your fearful avoidant partner, that you let them know that certainty is really big for you, then that will also go a very, very long way. Let them know, hey, if you need to cancel plans, I don't mind, but can you tell me when you want to replan? So if you're canceling something on Friday, make the plan for Sunday instead. Actually do the rescheduling and follow through. And that's where the AP feels like they can really set things to rest. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this made so much sense to you. Let me know if you hit the like button. I'll definitely put a lot more content out about the AP-FA relationship. Curious to see if that's something that you sort of upvote in here. And let me know any other questions you have in the comments below. I definitely create a lot of these videos based on the comments that you leave, and would love to continue on that path. So thank you so much for watching and stopping by. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying this channel, and I can't wait to see you in future videos.